Little Internet, it's Paul, it's Matt, the Dork Lords. We're here talking about Andor, Season 1, Episodes 1 through 6. We open Episode 1 with Cassian Andor on Morlana 1, searching for his long-lost sister. During his reconnoitering, he runs afoul of a couple of jerky security guards, accidentally kills one in a struggle, then intentionally kills the second one to shut him up. And that's the spark that propels the story forward. I suppose eventually ending in the end of Rogue One. We end episode 6 after the big heist on Aldhani has been pulled off. Back on Coruscant, Luthen hears about the success of the mission, retreats back into the back room of his antique store, and quietly celebrates his rebellion plan coming together. This takes place 5 years before the events of Rogue One, a la the events of A New Hope. So this is a prequel to a prequel.
Yeah.
And that said, Paul...
Yes?
What did you think of episodes 1 through 6?
Very happy. I'm pretty impressed with the show. I've said this to many people, so now I'm going to say it here. I think it's the best Star Wars yet written.
High praise.
And to be clear, I'm not saying it's better than any Star Wars. I think the best Star Wars is still The Empire Strikes Back. But the writing in this is just really top-notch.
It is very clever. It's well written. The dialogue feels organic. It introduces a ton of characters, but it does so without inundating us with exposition. It could have easily been some kind of expo dump. Like, for instance, I don't know everything about Brasso.
Yes.
I know he's a good friend of Cassian's. Cassian relies on him, and he works salvage. And he's going to be important later, probably in a heist. But that's all I know. As we talk here, episodes 1 through 8 have been released. Personally, I've only watched 1 through 6 because I don't want to be confused as to what I've seen and what I haven't.
That's me.
Paul, okay. Very good. So, Paul, you have watched 1 through 8 at this point. Okay.
Yeah.
I think, it's a little unorthodox due to our schedule leading up to this. But I think our plan is we cover 1 through 6 now. Then we cover 7 through 9 as its own bit, and then we'll try to individually cover episodes 10, 11, and 12. And one reason for doing that is that, as Tony Gilroy said, it's 12 episodes, but it's divided into 4 3-episode arcs. For instance, the episode 1 through 3 arc involves Cassian on the run from the Preox Morlana Authority, the corporate security company that's been hired by the Empire. That leads to a showdown on Ferrix between the locals and a dozen security guards. And in order to escape, Cassian accepts the help of Luthen, Stellan Skarsgård, and thus gets recruited into the Proto-Rebellion. So it's kind of, if you were to say that the first arc is Cassian gets recruited.
Yes.
The episode 4 through 6 arc involves Cassian's first mission. So it's stealing the Empire's quarterly payroll. It plays as a heist film, essentially. Foreshadows, actually, Cassian's role in Rogue One. Major heist against the Empire, and a lot of good guys die in the process.
yes.
Body counts high. I don't even know if matting someone is even like a big challenge. Oh, you'll probably die.
Yeah.
Oh, look, you died.
The stakes are just like a bad clam or something.
Right. That being said, so we're going to recap these first 2 story arcs. Then we'll recap the next story arc, 7 through 9, and then we'll kind of we'll live the final story arc in real time. It is a good structure for telling stories in a weekly...
I think it is. I'm hoping that other shows learn from this, because one thing we mentioned, a show like Discovery could benefit from this sort of thing. It's like, there's a tendency to feel like the way that, in terms of Star Trek, the way that, there's like either it's all like episode to episode, or it's got to be one continuous arc. And while this show has a continuous arc, really, it's nicely divided up by these segments that are essentially like movies, basically.
And Strange New Worlds obviously took an approach that's like a hybrid of this, like unofficially doing this, but actually having this structure, I think you're right, is actually more effective. Yeah, and I feel like shows like Discovery, for instance, I think they attempt to do like a single main story each season.
Yeah.
And I think they're thinking like a movie. And if you're doing 12 episodes, you're much longer than a film. And so what ends up happening is your single story gets filler. You get the weird pacing where sometimes it moves really fast and then sometimes it's really slow. And so, I feel like this structure works. So kudos to Andor for pulling it.
Yeah, and there may be some of you, and I'd be curious to hear if any of you feel this way. There are some small moments, I think, that because it's like, the sort of short arcs in there that end up being a part of it. Like the trip that Luthen was taking on the train, and he met that person,
Right,
and,
the guy who's like, is he a spy or is he just rich jerk or whatever?
Yeah, and they really focused on a few of those characters. We really saw the Empire, the behind the scenes of that stuff. It was pretty funny when the troops were begging him to go see this. You're like, well, okay, but tomorrow you better really do your work there. It's like he walks away.
Yeah. He made them. He being Gorn made them ask for the thing he wanted.
Yeah.
That was actually a pretty cool little scene where the description was, look, this is not a choice gig. And in fact, one of the only things that actually makes people want to come take this gig on Aldhani is once every 3 years, if you're here, you get to see this really cool phenomenon of the eye. And so it was just kind of fun. Like, please give us our light show. The behind the scenes looks at all of this stuff is really, it's really clever. Some shows want to be clever and aren't. This is not one of those shows. This show is smart enough to give us these behind the scenes looks and not feel underwhelming. Even like Mon Mothma and Luthen are our look at the rebellion, like on the higher ups, and just their daily lives. They are literally constantly in fear of being caught. You feel it. Like the show has you feel it. Like as I was just saying, he's on the train with just this guy, a tourist. But the way they're talking, and you could tell Luthen is thinking it like, I'm not going to tell this guy anything. And it's that you get that mindset. You have Mon Mothma. She has a dysfunctional family, and she's got a daughter that doesn't really care for the family. She and her husband don't seem to be on the same wavelength. And she's secretly a spy, and she can't let them know. And you feel this tension of all those moments are really, really well done. As you say, on the other side, on the Empire side, kind of our look at, I would say, our two middle management villains are Dedra Meero and Cyril Karn. Cyril Karn works for the corporate. Oh, actually, he just got fired, but he was working for the corporate guys. And Dedra works pretty much for the Empire, and so they're both hunting Cassian, and you see like each of them is jockeying for position within their careers. You want to know more about these characters. I would say that one of those two characters is going to flip. One of those two characters is going to help the rebellion eventually.
I think you might be right. I mean, a number of times in this series, it's I think done a good job of making you think it might go one way and then it goes another. As an example, I was feeling that at the end of it, that Cassian would just be like, okay, I guess I'm involved with this. And no, he decides to go off on his own. He's just like, I just don't want to be a part of this rebellion. And
still work to do on his
I feel like it's possible that either one of them could end up deciding that there's a bridge too far for them.
If I had to guess, my money's currently on Cyril. I think he doesn't seem to fit into the culture of the Empire or the corporate.
You don't, because he wants to style his clothing like them.
Right. Well, nobody else does. That's the point. The culture's like, okay, guy who's trying to impress nobody. The fact that he tailors his outfit, and it's funny. And he has that relationship with his mom. But I just feel like Meero seems more like I'm on a career track and I'm going to do what it takes. Yeah, he had to bend the rules. And for Cyril, I just feel like he feels like a fish out of water. So that's why I'm going with Cyril.
Okay.
Perhaps gets the flip, but we'll see. See how that goes.
Maybe he's marked for death. Who knows?
That's true. That's true. I will say Cassian's sister is out there. I think she's gonna. My guess, she shows up in the final 3-episode arc.
That's possible.
I think that might even be what propels him to make that final decision to join. Maybe something terrible happens to her. Or
That's
they
possible.
fridge his sister. I don't know. Here's a wild theory for you. I don't think this is actually true, but it would be pretty if Cassian's sister was actually the woman he spoke to at the brothel. Like, he went to the brothel to find her. He's talking to her, but she's like, someone's asking about someone from Canary? I'm not going to tell this guy anything. She left. And then he's spin like, it was you the whole time. Anyway, but no. I think most likely she hasn't been introduced yet.
Yeah, I would say that it'd be kind of weird if she didn't recognize him, or she decided not to.
Yeah. She, in that moment, she probably was be like, oh, he mentions brother, and I could imagine a scenario where she's so untrusting that she's just like, nope, I'm not going to believe someone claiming to be my brother. And the odds of that are slim, but I was just trying to picture, if it was going to be somebody, I don't think it's, for instance, like Miro. I don't think Miro is actually his sister. It doesn't really track.
Oh, no. But, I would say that the way they introduce characters here, I think it's more likely we haven't seen her.
Yeah. Cassian has killed a few folks. Big dramatic moment at the end of episode 6.
Yes.
When he kills the character known Skeen. So Skeen was one of the rebellion guys who never trusted Cassian or his motives. Cassian finally just comes clean to the whole team. It's like, look, I'm being paid. Fine. I'm not a true believer. I'm being paid, but deal with it. Fine. I'm competent. So, and Skeen makes up this whole story about how, my brother, blah, 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 blah. So then we find out at the end that was just all BS, that he's in it for the money too. He offers to split the cash and just take off with Cassian, and Cassian kills him. Yeah. Basically in cold blood.
He didn't even say, McClunky.
McClunky. He didn't McClunky him. You're right. So why do you think he did it? Why do you think Cassian just out and out shot Skeen?
Yeah, I think perhaps because he couldn't trust him, and so, he might as well just finish that.
Kind of like a life is cheap. Hey, I don't trust you. I don't, you might kill me, and when I turn my back, so I'm just going to kill you first.
I think so.
Okay. I mean, that's a legit reason. I thought possibly it was almost like an FU to be like, wait, you were questioning me, my motives the whole time, and then you turn out to be this guy who's not actually in it for the rebellion? Screw you. I don't know, but that seems pretty harsh. But
yeah, I'd say he doesn't seem quite like that. So
you think it's more that he was fearing for his life? Hey, if this guy's willing to screw over those guys, he's willing to screw me over and probably shoot me as soon as I give him his share, he'll take my share.
I think so. Yeah, and also too, he obviously he didn't do the same thing. It's not like his plan was to take it. I guess maybe if he did, it would be kind of stupid to kill him. Then he could have just planned to kill Skeen when he had the chance. But, in a way, I think he's trying to be honorable in his own way. So he would never double cross them. And now that he just takes his share, which, is probably...
Right. He definitely, doesn't screw them over. He's like, look, I did my job. I'm taking my cut. Just so you know, I killed Skeen. He's out back.
Yeah.
And poor Nemec. So Nemec was the philosopher.
Yes.
And
that was another thing that I was really impressed with. His little monologues and everything. It's sort of like, yes, he does think about it all the time, and he does have an idea about. He's a true believer.
Was a true believer. That's also kind of cool, is that you see these aren't one-size-fits-all rebels.
Yes.
They've all got different motivations for doing what they're doing. Money, revenge, an actual ideal. All of these. I used to be a stormtrooper. All these different motivations have come together, and so I think that's it feels like these are lived-in people.
Yeah. And I think it's just telling you, fascism is bad.
Fascism is bad.
If you didn't know that already. That's what Star Wars is actually about.
Yeah.
Star Wars is about that fascism is bad. Was it the Colonel who is talking about the smell of the people?
Oh, right. The Aldani folks.
Yeah. And how he treated his son. He's like, he's like about to really go off on his son just when he's not feeling so well. And he's like, look, hey, we got to do this. But he was sort of like, you could tell he was ready to crack the whip.
Although, I mean, I guess they did they exploited his family to make him do what they wanted.
Yes.
I suppose if he had just been like cold, calculating, chaotic, evil guy, Kaiser Soze, he'd been like, just kill him, that's fine. And then he had a heart attack. And we do see, the good guys are willing to hold a kid hostage, for instance. So they're getting down in the dirt a bit.
Yes.
I would say this just about the plan. Vel is the leader of the group.
Yeah.
She's upset because Luthen introduces Cassie in the last second. He's like, look, he can do everything, so he's redundant for all of your people. If somebody gets killed off, he can do the job. He can pilot the ship.
Yeah.
He can do this deal. He can talk his way through stuff.
Yeah.
So the plan is just like there are too many variables. I'll just say that. Like I would have been like, I don't know. Like the variable that I think I would have checked out on when they're like, okay, if I'm Cassian and like, here's the plan, like da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and the one is like, and there will be a bunch of military in the hangar.
Yes.
And we're gonna. And there are more of them than there are of us, and we're going to make them do our work for us. We're going to make them carry stuff.
Yeah.
What? And they have to do it really fast because we're on a time frame, so we have like 10 minutes. So it's not like they can slowly get to it. No. We're going to make them efficiently load this stuff and not find a moment where they might try to thwart us in any way. Woo. I'm like, I think my plan would have been, can we just blow it up? Can we just blow up the money? I don't know. Do we need it? Or maybe we need it, but if not, if we're gonna screw them over, let's just blow up the thing and be done with it. That part of the plan was like one bridge too far for Cassian Rice. I'm out of this. But it was cool. I liked the use of this natural phenomenon and the fact that the Aldani people have gathered to watch this thing, and it looks gorgeous.
Yeah. That eye there, that was pretty impressive too. It was interesting. The design of their escaping craft, was better suited to that environment than those TIE fighters. And so, it's interesting that was that ended up being a part of it.
And there's also that sense of like the good guys kind of rely on the natural world, whereas the bad guys are like all tech all the time. And
Right.
Interestingly, we do know there is going to be a season 2.
Yes,
this is actually a 2-season show. I don't think there will be a season 3.
No, there won't, because it's supposed to go close to the point.
Correct.
It's like,
in fact, the quote was, "Our final scene of the show is no secret. It's going to be Cassian walking across the tarmac to get in the ship to go to the rings of Catherine," which is where we see him at the beginning of Rogue One. So that's how the end. Interestingly, as I mentioned, it's 5 years before Rogue One.
Yes.
At the moment, this season is basically going to be this first year, and so season 2 will be the next 4 years.
Oh, okay.
The quote was, "What's really cool when we come back for part 2." This is Tony Gilroy talking. "We're going to jump a year. We're going to come back for a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we're going to jump a year. Then we're going to do like a 5, 6, 7 days and jump a year. Then we're going to do 2 weeks and jump a year. And the final block we come back to is the last 5 days before Rogue One."
Interesting.
So it's like tick, 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 tick. So once I think this is where he out and out accepts his role with the rebellion, and then season 2 will be a series of these missions that somehow lead up to Rogue One. I think it's kind of.
I wonder how people are going to take those time jumps. I've heard people complaining about the time jumps that happened in House of the Dragon.
True, although the time jumps in House of the Dragon are like 10 years. So this is going to be like several months. In other words, you won't have to recast anything.
Sure.
You'll just keep the same, I think it's the recasting that bothers folks, perhaps. Maybe I'm wrong. In other words, season 2 will have a different character, have a different flavor than season 1.
Interesting.
I love Stellan Skarsgård. I love
Yeah.
when we see him put on the wig
Yes.
for his antique dealer
Yes.
persona, and then you see him practicing his body language,
Yeah.
and like practicing his hand motions,
Yeah.
and it's just really he's an actor getting into this role,
Yes.
and it's really well done, and they couldn't have picked a better actor to play that role. He and Diego Luna are awesome for their parts and are really pushing this story forward quite
Yeah,
quite
I agree.
So it's interesting. We had the first group on Ferrix. We kind of met them, but then didn't, do a lot with them, except for the one guy who died. I was like, oh, that guy's dead. I knew he was dead. As soon as he's the one who ratted out Cassian, and we're like, oh no, that guy's gone.
Yeah,
It didn't take long, so he was gone. He was like, okay. But so that group, you feel like that group, a la Brasso as well, and Bix, will come into play future arcs. But this one arc was with Team Aldani.
Yes.
We lost Gorn. We lost the former stormtrooper. We lost Nemec. We lost Skeen. So Vel and Cinta survived. I think those are the two, and Cinta was still back on the planet. It's kind of like that Rogue One team took some major hits, obviously. So it's like these teams don't have a high survival rate.
Yes.
So anyway, I like it a lot. I'm a big fan of this show. And,
good show.
Carry on, show.
Yes.
So we'll be back talking about, as I mentioned, episodes 7 through 9.
Yes.
And then we'll try to pick up each episode after that individually. Thanks so much. We'll be back talking about Andor. Thank you as always, Paul. Appreciate it, good sir.
Oh, you're welcome.
And we'll talk to everybody next time.
Bye.
Bye.